So today we're looking at the Nikon F5. Now the Nikon F5 was first released in 1996 and it really is a formidable machine. I mean, it's the biggest, most robust, fully functioning machine that Nikon ever made. Really the flagship. I mean, there's the F6 which came out after the F5. I don't know anything about the F6. I've heard that it is more suitable to a landscape and wildlife photographer, whereas the F5 is, or certainly was, engineered and targeted to sports photographers and news photographers. I mean, it has a massive set of features and functions, and I'm not going to go into them all today. That's outside of the scope of this video. So if we take a look at the front of the camera, we've got 4 buttons on the front. We've got the focus mode button from continuous, single and manual, the lens release button here, the mirror lockup button, and this is the stop-down metering button, which is electronic, not mechanical, linked to the lens as in some of the older Nikon lenses. On the top plate, we've got the usual functionality. It looks and feels very, very similar to all the current digital cameras, the D200, the D300, the D700, all those cameras that you might be familiar with if you're a Nikon fan. It really is just, they carried over so much from this camera into those bodies that if you like to shoot digital and dabble in film, this is really a great way to do it. So on the top we've got a mode button here, which is controlled with this rear dial. Everything's really controlled with this rear dial here. So if we go into the mode button, spin the dial, we can go through the aperture priority, program mode, manual mode, and shutter speed priority mode. Once you've got a lens attached, here I've got the 80-200 f2.8, which is a lens that I actually used at Cadwell Park just a week ago. So with that lens attached, now we can see with this rear dial, we can actually control the shutter speeds. It goes down to a 30 full seconds, all the way up to 1/8,000th of a second. And if we then turn the control dial to continuous high in the shooting mode, this thing is really like a machine gun. Beautiful. Now, today film is expensive. I'm not quite sure if it would be really viable to shoot that way. I certainly didn't when I was at Cadwell Park last week. I used the camera in full manual, in single shot, and I'll be talking about my experience at Cadwell Park, how I use this camera and this lens, along with a roll of Kentmere 400 ISO film. And I'll be sort of going through the development process and the scanning technique, and we'll be looking at some of the images that we produced. So just again, looking back over the camera at some of the functionality on the backplate here. We've got an LCD which basically lights up, showing the ISO setting, the DX coding. If you have it set to DX coding, it will actually automatically set the ISO for the film, or you can manually set this with, again, the rear dial to whatever setting that you care for. You've also got the flash control button right here, so if you want rear curtain sync, first curtain sync, all controlled right here, and you've also got the custom function button in the back here. There are 24 function customs built into the camera. It is pretty comprehensive. On the viewfinder, we've got a little blackout window here, so if you want to take landscape photographs and you don't want extraneous light getting onto your film, then this is a very nice little feature. On the top, you've got the little lever here, which you would push over to the right, pull up the rewind crank to open up the film back. Metal vertical travel shutter. Loading the camera is pretty straightforward. Just drop in a roll of film, pull over the tail, drop it over the take-up spool, close the back down, and if we just turn this guy on, make the first frame, and it winds on to the start of the film. Very, very simple, very easy to use. So this lens that I was working with is the 80-200 f2.8. It's not the internal focus version, the second version of this lens, but it did prove to be a very, very useful lens, and I really liked some of the results that I got from it. Again, we'll be sharing those in the second video of this two-video series. So in essence, it's a beautiful camera. It is, if you're a Nikon fan, it's certainly one to consider, especially if you like photographing motorsport, as I do. I am not a big 35mm shooter by any means. Most of the work I do is in medium format and large format, but this certainly is a camera that I enjoyed using, and I'll be talking more about the technique, about how I used it and this lens at Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so you get notified of that next video coming out, which should be in about a week's time. If you enjoy the content of these videos, this video or any other videos that we've had on the channel, please like and share with your friends, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.